Hi everybody, welcome to A Bookish Heart with Shauna. This is my review of Finale by Stephanie Garber. I don't have a copy of this book to show you as I read it on my tablet as an ebook, but it's the third book in the Caraval series. The first part of this review will be spoiler free, and I will let you know when I'm going to be starting the spoilers. So if you haven't read the book, stop the video at that point. And if you have read the book and want to hear my thoughts on it, then continue on. So this book was the third book. The first one is Caraval, the second one is Legendary, and the third one is this one, Finale. They're all set in, they're like a fantasy. They're set with these two sisters, Tella and Scarlet. And there's a traveling circus type of thing called Caraval that's run by a man named Legend who's magical. And it's like so many magical things happen, and it's kind of like a contest. So the people that go in, only one of them will get a prize at the end, whoever wins Caraval. And you never know what's true and what's not, and it's very mystical. There's romance, there's adventure. So this series has been very popular, and I actually found the first book, Caraval, at a thrift shop, and I had never heard of it, but I decided to read it because look how beautiful that is. I loved the look of the cover. And it says, remember, it's only a game, I thought. And then on the back with the circus ticket that says admit one. And I thought this was really like a very beautiful book, so I decided it would be something I would like, and I picked it up, and I was right. And Legendary and Finale I read as ebooks, but they're also the covers are very beautiful. This book, Finale, I thought it was a good third book. It was not as good as the first book. This is a series that does run typical to the idea that the first book is the best, in my opinion. Caraval was by far the best. Legendary was a close second, and this one was not as good, but it was good for a third book. And it was interesting, it was fast-paced, it kept my attention. I kept wanting to read more to see what's going to happen next. This book was mostly about Tella, which I like Tella better than Scarlet. There's two main narrators. The first book was mainly narrated by Scarlet, I believe. In the second book, we got to hear more of Tella, and I started to like. In the first book, I didn't really like Tella so much, and I liked Scarlet, but now I like Tella better, and so this book was more about Tella. There was some love triangles, but there was some angsty romance. There was magic. We got to learn more about the fates, and some people might not like the love triangles. There was actually several love triangles. But one thing that was a criticism of the first two books that I found better in Finale is that the flowery language, there was a little bit of it, like just mixing the senses. It's strange. Like Scarlet, part of her magical ability is that she can see people's emotions as colors. So if someone's like angry, they'll have like a cloud of red around them, so she can see emotions. So that's pretty cool. But there's other things that are described in a strange way, like, oh, I kissed him and he tasted like moonlight and heartbreak. And it's like, what exactly does moonlight taste like? Like, how would you know that? And there's so many constant descriptions like that in the first two books that it just made you stop and think, like, why would you say that something smelled like, I don't know, smelled like friendship? Like, what exactly does that smell like? There were a few instances of this in finale, but definitely not as much, so it was definitely improved on. There was a new villain that was introduced. We got to see a little bit more of certain characters from the previous books, like Paloma. It was definitely well written and fast paced. I liked it. I like magical fantasy type books. Caraval, the first book, has been compared to the Night Circus by some people, and I will say the Night Circus is light years better. Just the writing style, how captivating it is. This is definitely not the Night Circus, but I mean, this series is a typical YA series. It has teenagers, it has like romance. Sometimes the characters make immature decisions. It has a lot of tropes in it, but that being said, I found it interesting and I'm glad I read this series. So yeah, I think I gave this book 4 stars on Goodreads. I finished it a few days ago, so I've had time to collect my thoughts about it, and I'm still I have a lot to say about this book. I did find 2 typos in the book, which that really bothers me. I'm a huge grammar nerd and I love editing things, so I'm always like, oh my god, how did the editor not see that? And I mean, I'm sure it's a hard job especially with a book that's 400 or 500 pages, they can't notice everything, but I mean, as I'm just casually reading it, I notice there's a word missing or a word that's out of place, so I'm always like, how could they not notice that? But anyway, there's a few mistakes, but nothing too distracting. I liked the format of the book. There are chapters, but there's also sections. They're called, I think, Before the Beginning, the Middle, the Almost Ending, and the True Ending. So I thought that was different, something I've never seen before. I'm looking at my tablet right now and some of the passages that I highlighted to remind myself what to talk about. For example, the flowery descriptions I was saying, there's chapter 41, Donatella, and page 311, it says, everything smelled of dust, trapped in light, cracked leather, and wayward dreams. I mean, I know things can smell dusty and smell like leather, but how do they smell like dreams? Yeah, and there was a lot of nice quotes I found, like this one that says, this is my choice and I choose you, Donatella. I don't need immortality. You're my forever. Like, there's so many good quotes about love, and I'm such a romantic, so I just really liked some of these beautiful quotes that were in it. Where's another one? Love is messy. It's not easily controlled, but that's what makes it so powerful. It's unbridled passion. It's caring about someone else's life more than you care about your own. Yeah, so I definitely would recommend this book if you like YA fantasy or magical type books in general. Now, at this point, I'm going to be getting into the spoilers. This is spoilers section from here on. Spoilers. Okay, you've had a couple warnings, so turn off the video now if you don't want to hear spoilers about finale. Okay, we're good? Everyone, spoilers ready? Okay. Oh my god, the ending. Jax is my baby. I love Jax. I know he's a villain, I know he's a bad guy, but I honestly really like him. Ever since the first scene when we saw him in the carriage, and he's grown on me, and I thought it was just so ridiculous how his whole character arc that got built up and made you like him more and more, and he showed moments of redemption, and you started thinking maybe he really loves Tella, maybe they could be together, maybe she is his one true love, maybe he's changing. And then it's like, no, he's gone. He divorces her, she stabs him, and then he leaves and goes to like live somewhere else, and then we never hear from him again. I just thought that was kind of a waste. Like, I really liked him, and I was very disappointed that he didn't really get an ending. It was inconclusive. I mean, now he's no longer immortal. But he's still ageless, like Julian's, and Julian found happiness with Scarlet, so there could have still been a story with Jax. He could have found a happy ending. He could have, and this whole Tella being his one true love storyline, and that they'll always be connected, even after they divorced, he said basically like the bond between us will always be there. So then that just got dropped. Like, how does she forget about him so easily? Wouldn't they still feel a connection to each other? I love Jax, and I'm gonna miss him so much. I really hope that if the author does a spin-off or another book, I really hope we get to hear more about Jax or his side story, because he was a very good character that got dropped way too suddenly. I thought the whole ending was a little bit rushed. Like, all of a sudden it starts a new chapter and Scarlet's the Empress, I think. No. The people don't even know her. Besides the fact that she was Gabrielle's daughter, how would she even be an Empress? She knows nothing about ruling. Legend knows more about ruling than she does, even Julian, because he's ageless and he's seen so much more. He's so much more experienced. Even Jax, who was, I think, posing as the heir to the throne, and when he had more experience than she did. Like, that was his grandmother, basically, and all of a sudden she's an empress. And the people, the peasants or the people, whoever lives there in this city, they're just like, okay, this guy's the emperor, okay, this guy's the emperor, okay, she's the empress. Like, they didn't even seem to care. Like, they were just like a bunch of sheep or something. Like, it made no sense. It just seemed like a happy ending. Like, the author just wanted to put a bow on everything, and okay, Scarlet and Legend are gonna be happy. Tella and Legend are gonna be happy together. Scarlet's gonna be a princess, and I just found it was way too neat and tidy. That nothing was really explained in depth at the ending. It was just like a pretty little package, so I didn't really like that very much. I thought Legend was way too nice in this book. All the other books, he was clearly a villain. Like, you didn't know when, she never knew when she could trust him. He kept saying, I love you, Tella, I love you, but then he kept backstabbing her or running away from her, and he even said, I'm not the hero in this story, and I will never be your hero. Like, I'm the villain in this tale. But in this book, it was like, he was so kind, and it was almost like Jax was set up as the bad guy, and Legend, like, how did his character change so fast? Like, there was almost this whole book, he was like kind, he was self-sacrificing. Like, there was almost, this whole book was like a love story to Legend, and there was almost no parts where I can remember where he was like evil or backstabbed them. I just found a lot of the characters changed too much. The story with the Count, I actually liked the Count. Nicholas, I think his name was Nicholas Darcy. I actually liked him. Like, he seemed like a genuine nice guy. He seemed like just an ordinary friendly bloke that wanted a girl, and sounded like he would be someone nice and kind and interesting, steady. And I feel like he was killed off too fast. Like, the author didn't know how to develop his storyline, so they're like, oh, there was like a fire. I think one of the fates got to him and burned him alive, and so he was suddenly dead, and I liked him, so I was sad when he died, and just felt like that was too convenient, because Scarlet was kind of, even though she loved Julian, she was kind of stuck between, should I give the Count a chance, and there's this new romance with the Count, or should I just stay with Julian? And then it's like, okay, the Count's dead, let's just stay with Julian. Like, there was just too many things that could have went such a different way that were wrapped up so neatly. Even the fact that Legend was once in love with Tella's grandmother, and now he's with Tella, like, that's kind of creepy. And neither of them bring it up again. It was mentioned in the first book only, and then it was kind of like dropped, and it's like, I'd be kind of creeped out if my new boyfriend only found me because I looked so much like my grandmother, and he had a fling with my grandmother and had really loved her back in the day. Like, that would be kind of creepy. I don't know, it just seems weird that it's not talked about at all. The parts that I did like, some of it was so well written, which was the twist with Scarlet. Like, I never ever expected that Scarlet had a different father, or that her father was Gabriel, the fallen star. I mean, that wasn't hinted at all, and I did not see that coming, so that was a very interesting twist. But I found Gabriel wasn't that scary. Like, his character, he wasn't the best villain ever. He did not make me shake in my boots. He was kind of one-dimensional. He was just seemed like he was mad at Paradise the Lost, and he just wanted revenge, and that was it. Like, where is his storyline? What motivates him? When you have a bad guy, especially a new bad guy that you're introducing this far along into a series that you want to portray as the ultimate, like, truly evil character that has to be defeated, like, we have to kind of understand what makes them tick. Like, why are they evil? What drives them? And it was just like, oh, he's Paradise the Lost's ex that she, like, walked out on, and so he's angry, and he's, like, trying to get revenge on everyone, and that was it. Like, I'm sorry, that's not scary. And, like, he just bugged me, but he was, and their plan worked so easily. Like, he was so easily defeated, and it's just everything worked out too neatly. As I said, I did like the twist with Scarlet being his daughter. I found that to be pretty interesting. That explained why Scarlet can see emotions, and why she's kind of magical, which I've been wondering since the first book. I was hoping that would be explained and not just kind of dropped. So I'm glad that got explained, and that we got more backstory on the Fates, like how the witch who trapped them in the cards, and she also created Legend, so we learned how Legend got his powers, and I liked all that backstory, and the backstory with the Fates. But yeah, those are basically my thoughts on this book. I am glad I read it. I will probably reread the series at some point in my lifetime. And even if just to hear about Jax again. I mean, Jax is epic. I love him. I was so hoping Tella would choose Jax. I mean, no offense to Legend, and Legend's alright, but Legend is Legend, but Jax is just a whole nother level, and he will always be in my heart. So, oh my god, Jax. I have to go now, and thank you for listening to my review. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If anyone has read this book or not, or wants to read it, please comment down below. I know this is a very popular series, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And now I can start on this book, The Raven Boys, and that's what I'll be reading next. Hope you all have a great weekend and take care. Thanks.
That's all, folks.